Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. My name is Macy, and I am so excited that you're joining me today. Whether you're brand new, welcome, or you come back often, thank you so much for doing so. So a few updates, you guys. I feel like I've been a little MIA, but I've been here. But there's just been a lot going on. It's kind of felt like a whirlwind the last few weeks because, as you guys know, if you listen to the podcast, you follow me on social media, my program, the Hybrid Experience, which is 6 months advanced emotional intelligence, which ends with a retreat. That retreat is coming up in 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks. We have less than 10 days before we're heading to 30A, Florida, and all of these clients in this first round get to meet each other in person. There are several of them that I will get to meet for the first time in person, and to say that I am giddy and excited is an absolute understatement. And I think the reason that I feel mentally like I've been MIA is because this program requires so much of me. When you're planning events as a business owner, or really just planning events in general, think about whenever if you've planned a wedding, it's just a lot of loose ends to tie up, people to, follow up with, make sure everything's on track to work out the way that you have planned it out to be. It's finishing up, payments or signing contracts or secondary contracts for things. And it's just a lot. It's a lot. So this program not only pushes the clients that are in it and growing their emotional capacity and their emotional intelligence for both, personal or professional reasons, but for me as a business owner, it has pushed me to grow in such a major way and to learn how to execute a lot of different things, especially doing it by myself because, as an entrepreneur up to this point, I still don't have a team. I don't have a virtual assistant. I don't have anybody that I am delegating tasks to. So this is a one-woman show and it can be a lot. It's been so fun because I love planning and I love this kind of stuff. But at the same time, it, adds a new flavor of challenges and things you have to rise up to in business. So I am really, really excited to see it all come together. I'm so excited to hug on these women. They've worked really hard the last 6 months, and I'm excited for the new round that is getting ready to start. So if you've been, watching the Hybrid Experience, if you've been kind of keeping tabs on what's up, just stay tuned because you'll get to see a lot of the retreat stuff. But in addition to that, you can also be in this program next round. We officially start on October 3rd, but enrollment is open right now, and it's open until September 23rd. So if you've had your eyes on this program, just make sure that you mark your calendar and that you sign up before then. And just know that if you are on the VIP email list for the Hybrid Experience, you have some additional perks and special treats. So if you're not already on that and you want to be, just go to macyrenee.com under, my programs, the ways that we work together, click the Hybrid Experience, and you'll see a pop-up that allows you to sign up for that specific email list. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I had someone write in on my Instagram messages that she had thought of a topic that I could cover. And here is what she wrote. I'm going to read it, and then I am going to tell you what came up for me as I read it, because I definitely relate. So this is what she said. Here's a topic I'm super curious about if you ever get around to it. How to make yourself physically and, most importantly, emotionally available for family visits when you are someone who needs to decompress from people's energy. And you may not have much time because you are busy building a business and working a side job to make ends meet 7 days per week, trying to get financially established. So what I read in that, which, by the way, I totally understand this, and just the busyness of it all when you're trying to get to a financially stable place, when you are starting a business or you're, new in your business, whatever that may be, and you're also trying to do other things to make ends meet, it can be very chaotic, and it can take a lot of your mental, emotional, and physical energy, and all at the same time. You want to be able to be available for other people, okay, even in the midst of all that busyness. So the way that I interpreted this, in order to speak to a larger crowd, I guess you could say, on the podcast, is to talk about having balance and boundaries in business. This is something that I have had to practice for years and years. So I've been in business for myself for 5 years. And, only recently have I gotten to a point where I'm really able to sustain us at a, really great financial level. And even at that level, it's still challenging at times. So there's a lot of boundaries and things that have to take place in order to make sure that I don't burn myself out, both in business or overexert myself in trying to please or make other people happy as well. So the first thing that I want to say about this, building, a business with both balance and boundaries, is that you really have to constantly go back to the core of why you're building your business in the first place. Now, this answer can be different for every single person, but what I will tell you whenever I think of mine is that I am building a business because I really do value time freedom. So money is amazing, right? Money is great. And I think all of us could agree that the more money you have, it makes the stressors of life a little bit more manageable. It doesn't take away all of your stress. It doesn't take away the things that you will experience that are hard in your life, but it will make things a little bit easier. And so while money is fantastic, it's honestly not the driving force for what I do, outside of the fact that what it helps provide also is time freedom. So when I can build my business to a place where we are financially stable and we don't really have to worry financially, what that also tends to create is time freedom. And that is what drives me in business every day. And the reason that my time freedom is so important to me is because I want to be able to spend quality time with the people that I love in my life. I don't want to, work the traditional 9 to 5 or, for my grandparents worked from 5 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And so they were up for work by 3 a.m., had left the house by 4:30 a.m. And I didn't see them until after school, a lot of times until 6 p.m. by the time that they picked me up from my great-grandparents' house. They did that work for 30-something years. And, now they're in retirement, but they're also not very healthy to where they're actually really able to go live life and enjoy their retirement. And watching that, as a young adult, and just watching not even my grandparents, but a lot of people do this in life, my core value for myself was I want to create a life where I'm not working myself necessarily to the bone, doing something that I don't really want to do. That's the key thing. It's different to work yourself to the bone, so to speak, if you love what you're doing versus working yourself to the bone in a career or a job that you absolutely cannot stand. And to be miserable every day and to dread it every day and to be thinking of your retirement every day, like that takes so much mental and emotional energy in and of itself. Like I didn't want that. So core values for me were I want to make enough money to be able to fulfill my dreams, but mostly I want time freedom. I want to be able to drop everything and go when I want to go. If we want to travel, I don't want to have to ask a boss other than myself when we are allowed or able to travel. If my family needs me, even if I live in another place in the country or in the world, I want to be able to be like, that's not a problem. I don't have to ask anybody for permission to get off. I can jump on a plane, have both the financial means to do so and the time freedom to do so. If I go home, like right now, I live in Las Vegas, my family lives in Kentucky. And I have a niece that is 9 years old, almost 10 years old, my husband and I. And then my sister has a daughter, and she is 1.5, almost 2 years old. And then we just found out that my youngest sister is pregnant. We don't know what she's having yet, but now that I live in Las Vegas, it's like I want to be able to go home and spend quality time with both my friends and family. And there are times, you guys, where I will drop everything for 2 weeks at a time, sometimes 3 weeks at a time, and there's no one down my back or breathing down my neck or chewing me out, that I'm not allowed to spend that time off. So I think the first thing that you have to ask yourself when you are building both a business where you want balance and boundaries is to ask yourself, why did you decide that career path, that business in the first place? Go back to the core things that are important to you. And if in any of those answers you answered that it's because you want to be able to spend quality time with the people that you love, then the next step of that is knowing that also means you have to make that a priority and not get so lost in business building that you forget to also make that quality time for people. And the reason that I say this is because when you are in business, it can be very easy to zone in to only business tasks and almost forget everything else. And that sounds really sad, but it is very true. I have been that person where even in my own household, sometimes my husband and I have had to have conversations where it's like, hey, I think you're forgetting that what is also important to you is presence and quality time, because sometimes you get so zoned into work, it's like everything else takes a back burner. And so those are moments where I have to really step back out and remember why I'm doing it in the first place. Because it's very easy for me. I love my business. I love coaching. I love my clients. I love waking up every day and getting to do this. There's not a day where I wake up in total dread. There's days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I wish I could sleep longer, but I've got a commitment, right? That's different. But I love the work that I'm doing as a coach. I look forward to every single coaching call that I have with every single client. And because of that, it's very easy for me to get in the zone of what my work day is planned to be and just almost forget everything else and almost be in a portal of work, because I love work. But at the same time, when I take a step back from that and I think about balance, I remember that the reason that I did this is to be able to, call up people and chat for hours if we chat for hours, or, go visit or go on a whim on a trip. So I was thinking about this even for myself this past weekend, because a lot of my good friends. They're not friends that I talk to on a daily basis or even a weekly or monthly basis, but they're really good friends of mine. I love them dearly. I was thinking about how it had been months and months since I had followed up with them or heard from them or checked on them. And I know that there's a phrase like, well, it goes both ways, but I have a good amount of time because I create my own schedule. So whenever my brain is like, hey, we miss so and so, we haven't heard from so and so, it takes balance, like intentional awareness to take a step back and say, like, why don't you call that person? Like, you have a couple hours in your day today to be able to do that. Why don't you do that? And whether they're able to hang on the phone or whatever for 30 minutes or 2 hours, why don't you do that and check on them? And I want to be able to do that. And so in order to do that, though, to answer this in terms of your protecting your mental and emotional kind of well-being, you have to get really clear on how you're feeling first. So if I am in a state where I'm very, very overwhelmed with my business, I'm very overwhelmed with all the decisions I'm making, I'm overwhelmed with my workload and everything that I need to be doing, and I don't feel like I am maybe even fully taking care of myself, then I do not decide to go then pour energy into other people or engage in a bunch of people-y things, because if I don't have the energy for it, it's not going to be the most productive unless I'm asking for someone to pour into me. Okay, so the thing about that is I first check in with myself and say, I really miss this person. I would really like to talk to them. And then I take a break for a second and I say, do I have the time, the energy, the space, the emotional capacity to, engage with this person or these people for X amount of time? And if my body and my system is like, oh, we don't have it today, then I honor that within myself. I don't shame myself. I don't guilt myself. But if the answer is, yeah, absolutely, this would really feel good. Like, even if they end up needing me for something, it would still feel really good to hear their voice, to talk to them, to have quality time with them in whatever capacity it's available, then I will go forward with it. And to be completely honest, if I am on a time crunch, I might just tell them that up front, like, hey, I just wanted to check on you. I don't have a lot of time. I've got some other stuff going on in about an hour or 30 minutes, but how are you? Like, what's going on? And so you're allowed to have both balance and boundaries as you build your business. In fact, it's really important. And, I think for entrepreneurs, sometimes we forget that we make a lot of decisions. Okay, we make a lot of decisions. And when you're an entrepreneur, especially in the beginning, when you're really grinding and trying to get yourself established, it can feel like you don't have a lot of time, or you don't have the capacity to make a bunch of decisions. But at the end of the day, if you are your own boss, you can do that. So sometimes it's just taking a mental pause and saying, wait a minute, who is the boss? I am. Right? So with that being said, sometimes what boundaries might look like for you is after 5 o'clock, maybe you don't pick up your phone again, right? Because you decide you're going to be present with your significant other or your children, or, just present for yourself, self-care, take a long bubble bath, read a book. Like, you're not going to be engaging in a bunch of stuff after a certain amount of time. Like, you're allowed to decide that. And if people are upset that they can't get in touch with you at that time, those are their emotions and their feelings. At the end of the day, you get to decide what is best for you, just like other people get to decide what is best for them. And so everybody's boundaries can look different, and how people create balance in their life and business can look different. For a long time, for many, many years, my husband and I would, get into little arguments about this, because if a client reached out to me at 9 p.m., I would immediately answer it. It didn't matter if we were watching a movie. It didn't matter, what we were up to. If a client reached out, I would answer it. I would just feel like I want to answer this. And it wasn't until my husband pointed out, like, they can wait until normal work hours. They don't need an answer right now. Like, I know that you want to, and I know that technically you can, because you don't really have anything that would keep you from it, but we're watching a movie. Like, can you be present and watch the movie and not answer a client at 9 p.m.? And, at first, of course, I was defensive. It was very frustrating for me because it was like a knee-jerk reaction. Like, oh, I just want to be available to them anytime they need me, of course, and then I had to think again about my core values. And a lot of my core values is whenever I decide I'm going to be present in something, I want to be fully present. So sometimes what that looks like is seeing the message come through, and I might read it and I might decide, okay, make a mental note or make a note in your phone to get back with them tomorrow, like during normal hours, because right now you're spending quality time with so-and-so. It's just not that important. Now, if it's an emergency, I will make that decision. And there have been times where, again, I had decided to be present in something, and then a client might reach out and literally have like a really big emergency that they need some coaching on. And so I'll just, whoever I'm with that I was, being present with, I might say like, hey, I have this client, they're going through something really hard. Would it be, would you be offended if I help them out? Or would it be okay if I just stepped away for maybe like 15 to 30 minutes to help them, take care of what they need help with? And a lot of times it's fine, right? It's more so in how you use your communication skills. And a lot of that comes down to your own emotional intelligence, right? And how good you've been at your balance and boundaries to begin with. If you're someone who never has boundaries and never has balance, the person that you're asking that of might be frustrated because they're like, well, you never honor what you say anyways, or you're never actually present anyways, right? You're going to get a very different reaction than if you are actually someone that does really well most of the time maintaining that balance and boundaries, in which case when a little emergencies pop up or little, random odd things pop up, they're not going to be so taken back because they're like, well, she or he typically does have balance and boundaries within their work life and their home life. So it's just something to come back to your core values of why you started this business in the first place, checking in with yourself on how you're feeling. Are you taking care of yourself first before you go engage with people? And then when you are engaging with people, deciding like you're going to be present with them, you're going to be fully there with them. You want to be in the quality time with them. And not everybody is going to understand like what goes into building a business. If for anybody that hasn't built one, they're just probably not going to understand. There's going to be people in your life that do well with, like the empathy of, I can imagine that that's really hard. And I can, I sense that you're stressed, and I totally can understand why that would be. And then you're going to have the people that are like, well, I don't understand any piece or any part of why you would want to do that or spend your life that way. And it's okay. You're just going to have to let people be where they are and remember to come back to what's important to you. So, it's just one of those things where people don't always understand. I was actually in Kentucky visiting my family for like 2 days. I didn't get to stay long. I actually flew in because I wanted my hair done before I leave for Dallas this week to go be with my people, all of my life coach colleagues and friends, and will be poured into, from Wednesday through Saturday in Dallas. And I'm so excited for that. And then right after that, I'll come home, and then I will be leaving to go pour into my clients who are coming to the Hybrid Experience Retreat in 30A. And so I'm super excited for that. And my grandparents were dropping me off at the airport. We had to wake up at 3 a.m. to get me to the airport on time for my flight. And I was working on emails. I saw that some emails came through about wrapping some things up for the retreat that weren't finished yet. And my papa was trying to ask me questions about some different things. And I was like, oh, give me just like 30 seconds to finish this email. And, he started going on like a little rant, not mad, but just a little rant about like, man, she's doing emails at 3 a.m. Who does emails at 3 a.m.? That's interesting. And my grandma was like, yeah, whenever you're an entrepreneur, that's stuff you have to do. You have to answer emails sometimes at 3 a.m. And honestly, do I have to do that? No, but I was already awake. I'm sitting in the back. I don't know about you, but whenever like the air conditioner's on, it's hard to hear the people up front anyways. And so I see an email there. I'm like, perfect. I have an opportunity to do this before I get on the plane. And so I just had to cackle at them because, sometimes they're not everybody's going to understand the things that you're doing for your business. And I think there's also this misconception sometimes that people have that aren't in business that think if you're an entrepreneur, you're just free whenever you want to be free, and that you only work a few days at a time, and that it's glamorous, and that you make all of this money and you don't really work that hard. And I'm just here to tell you that for entrepreneurs listening everywhere, we would have to laugh very hysterically because I don't know if you've ever seen that quote. There's a quote or like a meme or something on the internet where it says, quit my 9 to 5 because I was tired of working, 40 hours a week, became an entrepreneur, and now I work 24/7, 7 days a week. And, it's a joke, but it's also kind of serious at the same time. Like every time I see something along those lines pop up, I'm like, God, that is so true. I think people, that are in traditional corporate roles are like, man, I would love to be an entrepreneur and make, a gajillion dollars and only work, 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. But when you're an entrepreneur, especially in the beginning, you're working 10 times harder than anybody in a 9 to 5 because you have to when you're an entrepreneur, whether you're in real estate or you're in sales or you're in, network marketing, or you're a coach, or you've started a business or a franchise or a company, or you're selling a new product that's never been sold before, like, Scrub Daddy, like anything you've seen on Shark Tank. The hours that you put in are unbelievable because you are developing value, you're developing products, you are the brand, you have to be seen, you have to be putting yourself out there. It's, marketing and showing up on social media, it's all kinds of things. And you don't just get to do it in a 4-hour window and then go, drink lattes all day or margaritas by the pool. Like, you are working so hard. And, people usually see the glamorous side, the result of being an entrepreneur years later and think, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Good for them. Lucky them. They have it made, oh, to be them. But what people forget is, did you see all of the grind work that happened day in and day out for years and years on end to get them to that point? Like, I will just be super vulnerable and honest. Like, for me, I didn't hit $100,000 in my business until year 4. So I think year 1 in my coaching business, I made I think it was $5,700 or like $5,799 or something like that. And then year 2, actually, you know what? I think I have it. Hold on just a second. I will find it. Okay, yes, I just found it. So I'm going to give you the real stuff. Okay. And now there are of course business entrepreneurs everywhere, people who are working for themselves, okay, that their numbers could be way better than mine, and that's amazing. And there's going to be other people listening that are their numbers are maybe lower than mine, and that's okay. Everybody is on their own unique journey as an entrepreneur. But when I launched my business in 2018, I launched it in February of 2018, and then ended, obviously in December of 2018. And from that stretch of time, I made $5,799. I was still practicing as an occupational therapist and trying to get my business established. I was still terrified to call myself a coach or an entrepreneur because I didn't think people would take me serious. And I was so afraid of showing up. And that really impacted that number because I would post once every blue moon. I would post once every now and then. I would basically get a client and be like, okay, I'm good. I'm good. Unless anybody reaches out to me, I don't need to do any more work. I'm good. Okay. And so that was the result of doing that, of just barely showing up, still staying hidden, and really latching on to the fact that I was a pediatric occupational therapist. I just could not get myself to say that I was a coach. 2019, January through December, I made $20,617 as a coach. So I was getting a little bit better showing up. I was still very hung up on, I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I was still working as a pediatric occupational therapist. And so I felt comfortable with what I was making in my career. And it wasn't enough of a push for me personally to go and be all in on my coaching business. But I was really proud of that number. I was very proud of myself for bringing that in as an entrepreneur. In 2020, that is when COVID happened, and I actually lost my job as an occupational therapist because I would travel in the homes. And obviously with COVID, it was, this whole big scary thing, right? And they didn't want anybody in the houses. And I worked with a lot of medically fragile kids and babies and, toddlers. And so it was a scary time, and I lost my OT income. And it was super scary. We were trying to pay for a mortgage. I had applied for government assistance. I got denied. And that amped it up for me to really it was really the wake-up call, oh, you thought you were safe in your medical career and thought that, you would be, what's the word I'm looking for? You thought nothing would ever happen that would take away that income, and you kind of have been playing around in your business. You should have been working harder. There was a lot of shame, a lot of frustration with myself. And from the start of 2020 to the end of 2020, I made $31,159. Year 4 in business. So technically, I guess it was year 5 that I hit my 6-figure year. But from the start of 2021 to the end of 2021, I made $42,881. And I will tell you that was a big deal for me because it was more than I had ever made as an occupational therapist. And I have 2 college degrees, and I am nationally licensed. So that was a big deal for me because, when you're going for your college degree and, Google what your salary is going to be, and they say, oh, you're going to make $76,000 right out of school. So of course, investing $100,000 into this career would be amazing. And then you get out of college and you're actually making significantly less than what Google says the average is. That was a big wake-up call. And a lot of times as an OT, I would be lucky to hit a $40,000 salary in my work year, just based on how it works in early intervention. And, you don't get paid if the family forgets that you're coming to their home. You don't get paid if they're sick and they can't do their appointment. You don't get paid if you drive 70 miles to their house for that 1-hour appointment and they're gone at the park because, maybe mom had to go into work last minute and dad totally forgot. You don't get paid for that. And so between the mileage and the gas, you almost are spending more than you're making. And so I was lucky if I made $40,000 a year, and most times I didn't. Most times as an occupational therapist with a bachelor's and master's degree, I was making around $37,000 a year. So 2021 was a big win for me because I had made $42,881 as a coach. And it was also, I had walked away from OT by that point. So I was no longer practicing any occupational therapy. And I was proud that I had surpassed my income. And then in 2022, that is whenever I really decided to stop thinking of myself as small and to be more confident in the value that I bring to the people that I'm serving, and to believe in myself. And I ended 2022 having made $101,571. So really fun, really exciting, but the thing about that is if anybody were to look at, what I've accomplished now, they forget those years before that were spent working really, really hard, making a lot of sacrifices, crying myself to sleep, wanting to quit every single day. And let me just be super real. Even at $101,000, there's still days where you cry yourself to sleep and you ask yourself, what the fuck? All the time, right? Because it's not perfect. It's not always glamorous. I do have a good amount of time freedom, but also, and I've even learned this from my coach, when you're in the 6-figure mark, it's the hardest you will ever work. And she is not kidding. For $0 to $100,000, those are fun years of building, and it's exciting, and it's like, yay. And then from 100,000 all the way up until right before $1 million, I totally get exactly why this is the case, and I see it over and over again. The hardest years to build your business. I'm in it. I am in the nitty gritty shithole of it all. I love it and I hate it every single day. It's amazing and awful. I will just be frank. And, and then I hear after you've built to $1 million, things get a lot easier. So I am in the nitty gritty. And that's okay, because I wouldn't want to do anything else. I wouldn't want to serve anyone else. I love what I do, and I'm willing for it to be hard. I'm willing to go through the challenges. I'm willing to fall down. I'm willing to scrape my knees. I am willing to keep building my emotional intelligence to higher and higher and higher levels to help me get to where I want to be in my business. And so it's natural that it's going to be hard. And it's also normal that people on the outside looking in may not understand. And they may think for instance, there's people in my life, right? Oh, you make $100,000 and you have all this time freedom. What could you possibly be stressed about? They have zero idea, right? Zero idea. And it's okay. It's okay. And also they forget that when you're an entrepreneur and you're in business for yourself, taxes, PS, take 50% of your hard earned work. So just whatever someone's making, if they're making $500,000, they're really probably only making $250,000. If you make $100,000, you're making $50,000, right? So the government always gets their fair share. So it's not always all it's cracked up to be. And that's why when you're an entrepreneur, you better love the hell out of it, because it's one of those things where you're deciding, I'm in it forever. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm in it no matter how long it takes. I'm in it because I love the people I'm serving or the product that I offer or the value that I bring to the table. This is what I want to do no matter how hard it is. And if you know that you want to be that person, but you're really struggling with how to keep yourself in the game, how to keep showing up, how to keep yourself in good spirits as you're doing it, it all comes down to your level of emotional intelligence, how your emotional capacity and how you carry yourself through the challenges is huge in entrepreneurship. And that's exactly what I help people with, both in life, in everyday life, and professionally. And it's exactly what we work on in the hybrid experience. So if any of this has resonated with you, make sure you check it out on MacyRenee.com. You can schedule a consult with me to ask questions. You can send me an email to ask questions. You can message me on DMs and ask me questions. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But just know, if you're an entrepreneur, you get to decide your boundaries and you get to create balance. And because you are in charge of your time with a lot of that, you decide what capacity you have to pour into others, to be around others, to give your time, right? Or to allow others to pour into you. You get to make those decisions. And if a part of what you value is your family and friends, don't forget about them, right? Don't put them on the back burner. Just make sure that you continue to, make that time, because you are the creator of the way that your days go. And so anyways, I hope that this has been helpful for any entrepreneur out there. And if there's anything that I missed that you think that I could add and talk about in a future episode, feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And everything is linked in the show notes for you to be able to go to my website, find me on social media, etc., etc. All right, you guys, I hope you have an amazing week. I have to go. I have a coaching call, and I am getting ready to be traveling for the next 2 weeks, but some exciting, fun things will be popping up on social media and in email, so just make sure you're there so you don't miss a thing. All right, bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macyrenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macyrenee.com anytime you want so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.